all you learners out there, Learning Land? Tyler from 10thumbspro.com. You're going to need your brain today because today we're going to talk about why you use the minor scale when you're jamming out a blues in a major key. Once you know the why, the how gets a little easier. New guitar every Monday, so hit subscribe if you like this kind of content. Go ahead and think about becoming a Patreon as well. Printable tabs up in the notes for this tutorial and all our guitar tutorials by becoming a Patreon. Links to this specific tab pinned in the first comment. Let's figure out why we use the minor scale over these major chords. It's about to get interesting. Let's do it. Follow me on in. Okay, so here's the question. I'm playing a blues in A. My three chords are A7, D7, and E7. So then when I go to improvise, why am I using a minor scale? Okay, the A minor pentatonic or the A blues scale. But for the theoretical purposes of this lesson, let's think about our blues scale as really the A minor pentatonic with the addition of the flat fifth. That's exactly what it is, but we're going to call it the minor pentatonic for theory reasons to make these ideas a little more clear. So you'd be thinking, well, the A7 is a major chord, which is correct. The D7 is a major chord, and the E7 is a major chord. So why the minor scale? And that's a great question. So this is a 1-4-5. We're in the key of A, and let's start with not our 7 chords, but just the A major, D major, and E major. In the key of A, your 1 chord is A, your 4 chord is D, and your 5 chord is E. Now, if you were to add the 7th extensions to the key of A, your 1 chord here wouldn't be the A7. What happens naturally would be the A major 7. And your D wouldn't be the D7, it would be the D major 7. If you don't know the difference, we'll talk about that in a second. And your E, you guessed it, would be the E7. So the E chord is the only one that wouldn't change. So we've done something called introduced these chords non-diatonically. Diatonic is when a chord happens naturally in the key. Non-diatonic is when we take notes that are from outside the key and put them in. So we've made our A7, or we made our A chord instead of an A major 7, we made it an A7. Well, what's the difference? An A major 7, an A chord is turned into an A major 7 when you introduce the 7th interval, which is 1 note below the root. So you have your A note, 1 note below the A note is a G sharp. Okay? So when you put a G sharp into an A chord, it becomes an A major 7. Now, below the G, or below the G sharp is a G. The relationship from the A down to the G is what's known as a flat 7th. So you have A, G sharp is your 7, G is your flat 7. When you take a major chord and you stack a flat 7 on top of it, you get your 7 chord. So our A7 is an A major chord, which is the notes A, C sharp, and E, with the addition of a flat 7, which is our G note. A, C sharp, E, G. The minor pentatonic scale contains a G note. So because that G note doesn't occur naturally in our scale, and we make the A7 unnaturally, we also need to choose a scale that doesn't happen naturally. Because if we were to use the major scale, we'd have the G sharp note instead of the G note. So the A minor, when transformed into a 7, becomes an A minor 7. To create an A minor 7, you take an A minor chord and you add a G note. That's why the A minor pentatonic has this G note here. So that's why we use the A minor pentatonic when we play over the blues, because it has the G note, and we want the G note because we're playing an A7 instead of an A major 7. The notes in the minor pentatonic are A, C, D, E, G, A. Okay? To turn that into the blues scale, we add a flat fifth, meaning between the D note and the E note, we add an extra note. And that note is what's known as a passing tone, meaning you never want to just play that note. You only want to play it when you're moving from one note to another. And there's a lot of ways to do it. You can go up to it and back down. You can bend to it. You can slide past it. Any way you want, you just can't hang out on it. But essentially, if you remove that note, we have an A minor pentatonic. And the notes interval-wise are the root, A note, makes sense, A chord, A note. The C note, we're going to get to that one in a second. The D note, which makes sense because the progression goes from A to a D7. So we have this D note, which is the fourth interval, E, E7, the fifth interval, and the E note is also in our A7 chord. The G note, which is why we play the minor instead of the major, because A7, flat seventh interval, G note, and then back to the A. Now, by going from the major to the minor, though, it isn't just this perfect magic, everything works perfect in a harmony transition. It does present one complication. The C note. An A minor chord is made of the A, the C, and the E. The A major chord is A, C sharp, E. So the A minor pentatonic has this C note, but the A major chord, as well as the A7 chord, has a C sharp note in it. And that little difference means that our chord has a major third, but our scale has a minor third. So that is why the blues curl and some other cool ideas come into play. When you're jamming, and you get to that C, it's really very common when you're soloing, you're out here jamming, and you're soloing over the A7 chord to hammer on from the C to the C sharp. Now you're only going to do that over the A7 because when you get to the D7, the C note is what turns a D into a D7. So that's another reason we're using the minor pentatonic, is because that C note is what transforms our D to a D7. But over our A7, it's a little more complicated, so you can always hammer on right there. The other way you can handle this note is something called a blues curl. And a blues curl is a quarter bend. Listen to Clapton soloing or his rhythm when he's playing blues. He is always going to bend the thirds. Literally every time he hits that third, he's going to give it at least a little bend. And what I'm doing is I'm just slightly bending my C note up towards a C sharp. This is what a C sharp sounds like. And this is a C. So a half bend is right there. That would be bending in pitch. You can bend even less than that. And that's what's called a blues curl. And what I'm doing is I'm taking my scale and I'm implying the C sharp by giving it just that little baby bend in between C and C sharp. What I'm doing is I'm letting you know that I'm aware that my scale has a C note, but my chord has a C sharp. Okay, so that is why we use the minor pentatonic. Now, so as your blues career progresses, you will learn that you can mix the major and the minor scales. All right, that's really common. If you listen to B.B. King, he's really getting the sixth interval and the major third interval involved. When can you use the major pentatonic? You can use it over the 1 chord and over the 5 chord, but not over the 4 chord, okay? So as you're soloing, you're jamming, when you get to the A7, you can feel free to use the A blues scale, A minor pentatonic, and the A major. D7, back to the A minor pentatonic, and then the E7, you can go back to combining the A major pentatonic and the A minor pentatonic. But the A minor pentatonic and the A blues scale is the place where you should learn, right? And that is the explanation of why we're using the minor instead of the major. Now, how can you use that information to become a better guitar player? Well, one of them is just the more power you have, the more knowledge you have, the more knowledge you have, the more power you have. The other one is when you get to that minor third, you have the blues curl and the hammer on, and your bag of tricks now. Then the other one is knowing that this G sharp note is your flat 7 and it has some discord to it. So playing it, emphasizing over that chord, and resolving from the G to the A is a very satisfying resolution when you're soloing. All right, so you have that resolution in there. So there you have it. That is the blues theory of why you play the minor pentatonic over a major blues progression. Okay? If you have any questions, which I'm sure you do, if you watch this and you're a total beginner, it probably went over your head quite a bit. If you're intermediate, you probably have a couple questions. If you're advanced, you probably have some things to add. Feel free in the comments to ask your questions, or go ahead and if you have any additional information you think the learner should know, please feel free to put it in the comments as well. Okay, until next time, keep on rocking, keep on rolling, and have a lovely day. Great job. You made it to the very end of the lesson. That means you at least have somewhat of an understanding how and why this stuff works, okay? Keep on rocking and rolling. We'll catch you next Monday for our next guitar tutorial. Think about becoming a Patreon, cheaper than a cheap cheeseburger. Notes for this one up here. All the guitar lessons, all right? So it really accelerates your learning. And until next Monday, I hope you have a lovely week, and we will catch you soon for some more guitar education. Take care. Keep it bluesy. Rock and roll.